Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel for the second video. So today I'm going to be talking about three very useful books that I found irreplaceable in the start of my kind of wealth creation or business building journey. These are books I certainly am going to go reread as much as possible. While I have read a handful of books, some are tossaways, some aren't quite as good as these ones. And there's more that I could add to this list, but just I wanted to break down kind of three of the essential ones that I thought everybody could use to, I guess, essentially start a company as soon as possible, albeit with an idea from yourself. But I think these three books can kind of give you a good outline of where to start looking and how to think about the process, essentially. Rather than give you the idea, they kind of put a framework in place, and then you can get into more specifics from there. So first up, we have The Lean Startup by Ries. So this book is a great book on basically how to create an efficient business and how to test products basically as quickly as you can to see if they have product market fit. So essentially what that means is you're testing, not all the time are you going to be right about what you think is going to sell. And basically the marketplace determines what is actually going to be a useful product. So you could come up with a great idea for, say, a vacuum cleaner that has some extraordinary function that maybe you think is going to change the world. But as soon as you go to test that with your first customers, and he goes out to outline how to do that in the book, but as soon as you go to test that with your first customers, you get very poor responses. And this is essentially how you can test that. And what he goes over is how you don't want to invest a whole bunch of money, which makes sense in hindsight when thinking about it. You don't want to invest a whole bunch of money before you go and test this product. Say you think you have the idea, you spend a bunch of money developing something to the full extent, and it doesn't turn out good at all. So what he's saying is you want to spend as least amount of money possible and have a minimal viable product, is what he calls it. So essentially what a minimal viable product is the product that you can test among customers with the least amount of effort or work you have to put in to make that product possible. So say you don't have to have every feature done. It doesn't have to be a complete polished product, but you need to be able to get feedback on it as soon as possible so you know if it's a good option for you to move forward with. What the rest of the book does is kind of goes through some lean principles of business and how to kind of shape your business and manage it in a way where you're going to eliminate some of the bulk, I guess, or the unneeded things that aren't necessary and kind of creates a lot of bloat in your business. Yeah, and other stuff he kind of talks about is he goes through how to create actionable metrics, how to track your business essentially in a way that you're not lying to yourself. He says often, lots of times, businesses will lie to themselves with these vanity metrics, is what he calls them. Essentially what a vanity metric is something that looks good but doesn't mean much for your business. So you could look at views on a video, but if your goal is to get subscribers and you're not going up by subscribers and you keep just looking at the views, that's not really going towards your goal and helping your business grow. So what he's saying is you want to always look at these actionable metrics and how to track them. So he goes over that in the book as well. Actually, those are the basics of the book. There's a lot more to it. I won't spoil the whole thing for you, but that's the first book I definitely recommend. If you want to get a good grasp of the lean thinkings of business. This kind of follows the Honda method if you want to look that up. But yeah, so this is a lean methods, and it gives you a good insight in how to kind of start your first product without spending a bunch of money up front, which is very important if you're just starting out and you don't have any capital to work with. So the second, and I think the most important book on this list, is going to be The Millionaire, Fastlane by James DeMarco. So this book is just too big to go through everything right in one sitting, and I'll probably make a dedicated video just for this book. But essentially what this book lays out is just that you need to start a business to create enough wealth to retire. So he basically says that you can retire early, and there is no such thing as get rich easy, but get rich quick does exist, and you can do it. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but you can do it. So basically it goes through a lot of equations and kind of breaks it down into terms that align with the Fastlane, I guess, the highway, and goes through these interstates or these fast lanes, and kind of goes through what businesses will work best, what has worked for him in the past, what he's learned. He goes over 3 types of people, and so those are going to be the slow laners, fast laners, and the sidewalkers. So if you want to think about it, fast lane is what we're trying to emulate from this book, and that's people who are trying to create wealth fast through asymmetrical growth of building companies and growing them very quickly through the methods explained in this book. And then essentially a slow laner is someone who's prescribed the ideas of not necessarily go to school, but someone who is saving their money paycheck to paycheck, is never going to be able to retire. They still are able to save money, but they're trading their happiness today to never really receive it once they retire. And they'll never really have the time because they're saving paycheck to paycheck. And it's just not the way you want to live as outlined in the book. Well, it can be good for some people if you really want to retire early and have the free time, which he goes over. If you want to be wealthy, that is essentially happy, healthy, and can do whatever you want with your time, you're going to need to follow the principles in this book to build a business, grow it, and then retire early with enough money put into low percentage investments where you can live off that year to year without doing anything and have as much free time as you want possible. So yeah, there's a lot to break down in this book. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing and spoil it. I'll probably make another video dedicated to it because there's just too much topics to cover in here. But yeah, essentially, so this is probably the most important book I'd recommend when starting this. I'd probably read this one first, the Lean Startup, and then get into the third one. So the third and final book I'm going to recommend for just starting out in business, and this one can really be applicable to anything, is to How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Specifically, I have this one on adapted for the digital age, since it makes it easier for you to relate to it, essentially, because it's adapted to the digital age. And this is an old book, obviously for good reason. It's one of the most sold books of all time in the self-help category. Carnegie goes over a lot of points in this book, but I would say the biggest takeaway I've had from it is to make people feel a certain way when you communicate with them and talk to them. So everybody wants to talk about themselves, and you have to kind of bury your own greed or whatever you want to call it, and not focus on what you want out of the conversation, and you want to focus on whatever the other person's needs are, and how to make them feel, I guess, great coming out of the conversation. And then you don't want to be coming at this from a non-genuine place. So you want to be completely genuine in your conversation and actually care about what the person has to talk about, ask them questions. One of the big points he says is saying their name, and remembering people's names is huge. Yeah, smiling is good, always showing like happiness in some way, he goes over. So finding a way to even show that in the digital age through text messages, through emojis when you're communicating with people. Like Carnegie just goes over how to leave a lasting impression and how to communicate with people, how to not get on someone's bad side, and how to really be a great person when it comes to talking, communicating, and influencing others in your life. And I think this is really important for business, as you're going to be dealing with other people, maybe not at first, but eventually. I think it's a great book to have for anything, but albeit business, I think, is one of the most important things you're going to need this for cultivating relationships and meeting people, maybe even selling your business, and a whole load of other things. So yeah, so that's the third book, and that kind of wraps up our video for today. So yeah, those are the three books I thought were most important when kind of starting a business. So to recap, we have How to Win Friends and Influence People, Millionaire, Fastlane, which I think is the most important. So if you're going to remember one, remember this book. And then The Lean Startup, which is a great book on how to think about starting up your first product. So yeah, those are the 3 books we covered today. I hope you guys got some sort of value out of this video. If anybody even sees it, this is my second video, of course, but who knows? So I hope you guys got some sort of value out of that video, and I'll see you guys next time to cover some other good topics for you. We'll see you later.